Hello, hello, and welcome to episode number 36 of Off the Mark. I am your host, Miss Tootie O, and with me, as always, is our angel of the morning, Miss Gloria Meeks Kali. How are you, my dear?
Right? Doing fantastic.
That was the cutest.
Missed you, Tootie.
I did as
How you
well.
doing, my dear?
I'm doing well. I'm hot as hell. That was a hell of a freaking setup we just had right now, you guys. So, like, my upper lip is sweating. I'm disgusting, but I'm also cute, so it's okay. Oh, shit, girl. So, okay. So, before I go on, I just want you guys to know that you can find us on YouTube for now. You can also find us on Instagram. You can find me personally at Tootie O My Hero. Also, Tootie 2.0, because I have a backup because I'm going to get kicked off any day now. So yeah, so there's that. Again, go to YouTube because this is probably where you're watching us now. Subscribe if you have not yet. So yeah, that's out of the way. Yeah, so let's move on. So on today's episode, if you guys haven't heard yet, and most of you have, if you're watching today's, we will be discussing Pizzagate in detail. It's going to be a tough one because there's going to be a lot of triggered words. We have no idea how far we're going to make it and how long it's going to last on YouTube. The Bill Gates one we just did, episode 35 was a Bill Gates one, right?
Yeah.
That one is shadow banned right now. It's only at 26 views, but the last time I saw it was at like 51, and then it went up to 82, and then yesterday it was like at 32 or something like that. So like, well, it's jumping. I don't know what's going on there. But I don't think that one had a lot of trigger words. It just had a big ass picture of Fauci or Bill Gates. Was it Fauci? Which one was it?
Our latest one was Fauci.
Oh, it was Fauci. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Today we're doing Bill Gates, you guys. My bad. But anyway, so today we're doing Pizzagate, and so buzzwords: Epstein, Cappy, Clinton, COVID, Maxwell, McAfee, Tom Hanks, Chrissy Teigen, Ellen. Let's get them out of the way, just so that they're there, and we don't have to worry about it anymore, right? If we're banned, we're banned.
We said what we said.
So how do you want to do this, my dear? How do you want to get this going? I know we're gonna have a lot of fun with it, so you're the boss.
It's gonna be a fun one. Okay, well, how about we start off with kind of what sparked us into choosing to do this particular cast. You sent me a video from Howard Stern's show when the Gates first announced their divorce. So this is from like a month ago. It's been a minute, but it's still pertinent, I think. So let's pull this up. And here's an interview from...
It's also quite hilarious, if I may say so myself.
I just realized I may have forgotten to share audio. So let's try that one because preferable, I think. Share sound. Why not? There we go.
For sure.
That's the one. That's the way to go.
That's good podcasting.
You hear what I hear. Until they didn't want me to share. There we go.
I saw here that Bill and Melinda Gates are getting divorced. It's pretty wild. But anyway, I wonder what is Alex Jones? Yes, Alex, come on in.
Infowars.com. Howard, the Gates were so perfect together. They were going to cull 96% of the population. They ate children together. They stayed at Jeffrey Epstein's Paris estate 497 times. Okay, I just can't believe that happened.
Wait a second, Alex. Alex, are you saying you're upset about Bill and Melinda Gates divorcing? I would have thought the opposite.
I'm so upset that they can't continue the COVID-19 Crimson Contagion battle plans to control society and the fake PCR tests with Klaus Schwab's book, The Great Reset, where they're going to push the eugenicist depopulation. Oh, I'm so upset about that. I'm so upset.
Right.
Please.
So you're being sarcastic. In other words, you're happy. You're celebrating the end of Bill and Melinda Gates.
Melinda Gates is joining the fight for freedom. She has denounced the satanic deep state overlord husband. She's abandoning the Stockholm Syndrome. Listen, it takes a bold person to stand up to the leader of the interdimensional vampires, the satanic globalist pedophile cults. They commit crimes against humanity to prove their credit with the aliens.
You're saying Melinda Gates was actually suffering from Stockholm Syndrome and she finally got away from the evil warlord, Bill Gates. Is that correct?
The evil known villain. Hold on one second. Howard, I'm getting a knock at my door. Let's see who's coming in.
I know, right?
Bachelor Bill Gates. Oh my God, Bill Gates. Okay, let me ask you something. I really want to have a serious interview. Gates, what was the breaking point in your marriage with Melinda?
Melinda always complained that I left crumbs after my baby feast.
You know, it's going to be hard for you to date. I mean, when you're eliminating all of humanity, how are you even going to date?
I will slaughter all of civilization except Kaya Gerber. She will be queen of the scorched earth.
All right,
Kaya
Gates,
Gerber.
well, sounds like Kaya Gerber, right?
Kaya Gerber.
Gates, all hail Bill Gates.
All right, well, enough out of you, Gates. Well, let me tell you something. If you need a quick meal in your new bachelor pad, you need Liberty
This is my favorite part.
high performance powdered survival food. You got powdered lasagna, powdered burgers, powdered chicken fingers, made with the finest ingredients, loaded with baby powder, loaded with sawdust. This stuff's gonna fill you up good. 40% off with promo code FelonFauci Infowars.com.
Well,
Infowars.com.
I'm thinking about it. It's blowing my mind. This was a show within a show within a show. I have a show going on. You came on with your show, and then you put on another show with Bill Gates. So this is
Yeah,
amazing.
he was knocking at our door, and then somebody
Right.
knocked at his door.
Right. Wait, I'm hearing imaginary knocks on the door right now. All right. Let me ask you, is it hard for you to sleep at night? With all you know, it must be hard for you to calm down.
Well, it's not hard when you have alpha male sleep fusion you take every night filled with vitamin X. It's very good for you. So that's how I get to bed every night. But listen, I am up every night when I don't take the fusion because I'm just imagining the Satanists that want to cut our arms and legs off and how they're going to externalize the NSA spy system into big tech.
How come it's taking so long for the globalists to get rid of the population?
People are slowly getting the facts. They're understanding this. The Satanists take drugs because they want to end the veil. They eat children for the interdimensional pain. Then the aliens hand over the inventions. That's how we got the wheel. That's how we got the television. That's how we got the iPhone. They feed off dark energy. Right, Bill Gates?
All hail Bill Gates.
Yes.
Do you ever have a margarita on the beach? I mean, just fucking chill out. I mean, it's to me, it's just intense, your world. It really is.
Listen, I like a little good whiskey. We got some good whiskey here in Austin. I'll sit down, have a little bit of Bluebell ice cream. I love all of those kind of things. The
All right.
core goal is taking down the mega banks, taking down the powerful elites, taking down the prime controllers, taking down the grays. You know, I look at some people. I look at Teddy Roosevelt, for example. That man, the man's my hero. He was an elitist, right? But he wanted to empower people. He made the great national parks. He pissed off the Fed, wanted to break up the big banks and the monopolies. And that's the kind of man that I look to, I aspire to, not these chicken neck perverts who want to sterilize the population and put the human breeding program and the cloning programs, these globalist Democrat Nazis.
All right. Listen, Alex, we got to go because I have my own commercials and own show to run. I can't run your
Yeah,
show
you
while
got your
I'm doing
own
this show.
products to push.
All right.
All right, I got to go
Alex,
take a piss. I'll be back right after these words.
All right, there he goes.
I love how he dances.
Infowars.com.
Oh, brother. Okay, so not only was that hilarious, but I have some concerns. So he mentioned the number 497, or was it 497? 497. Like specifically, Bill Gates and Melinda Gates visited Epstein Island 497 times. Now, I don't know if that's like a direct quote from Alex Jones. I don't know if any of these are direct quotes from Alex Jones, with the exception of another episode he did with fake Alex Jones, Howard, where it became such a big news story that fake Alex Jones was misquoted as real Alex Jones.
Yeah.
So Alex Jones mentions it on his show, and saying, "Hey, look, I'm not a puppet. I'm not the puppet," or whatever. Saying that, "Oh, the guy sounds exactly like me, but it's not me." Basically, like, so I'm just kind of like, well, maybe it is you. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know exactly.
The
I mean, the
impression is
voice
spot
sound is
on.
quite,
I don't
but
know.
the voice is very, it's uncanny. You know what I mean? Kaya
Kinda
Gerber.
convincing.
The mention of Kaya Gerber was kind of an interesting one. You know,
To exalt
Oh.
that specific.
I don't know who she is aside
Yeah,
from her
that's-
being some kind of model and she's a child. Oh, Cindy Crawford's daughter. That's what she is, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. I
Yeah,
know
Cindy
that.
Crawford's daughter. Let me turn you up.
Interesting.
Yeah, a little bit. So those types of videos, I always see them as like a Maya culpa type thing. You know what I mean? As like almost like an olive branch where they're telling us the truth, obviously, You know, it's truth in plain sight, but it's done in such a fashion where it's, well, the way and SNL does it. SNL does it all the time too.
It's so humorous. It's, you
Yeah.
know, it's designed to be laughed off and like
Right.
put to bed and be done with, or to like, you know, dismiss. But
Right. And then there's the other side of it where, you know, where the music industry kind of, they take the satanic part of it and just go run with it. I mean, it's all one and the same, but in music, I feel like it's a little bit more obvious. And at the same time, it's art. So
Mhm.
it's not seen as anything else but that, you know, as opposed to comedy, you can't really mix Satanism and comedy. That's not funny. But the way they pull it off is just, it's, you know, it's brilliant. It really
well,
is.
to some degree they do. A lot of, you know, comics today are very dark, and, you know, like, it shouldn't be a joke to like eat babies, and yet it
Baby
is.
humor.
Like,
Yeah.
like,
A lot of dead baby humor for sure.
like even like
That's
Austin Powers.
always been part of comedy though. Dead baby humor's always been like
Yeah.
part of like
Like
the
Austin
culture of
Powers
it.
back in the day with Fat Bastard and like get in my belly and like
It's a baby. Yeah, he did say that. No kidding. Yeah. Well, you know, what was I about? I was gonna bring up the NSA spy thing. That was interesting too. And he just the little tidbits he throws
Right.
in, and also the thing about them cutting off our arms and legs. I don't know what that's about, but I'm looking at that too. Just because like that's a weird thing to throw in. It doesn't
Right.
seem. It seems like okay, it's ridiculous. Ha ha ha! You're so funny. But
But they're not
I don't
pulling
know.
all of this stuff out of nowhere. It's like
Right. It's
referencing
not coming out of nowhere.
something. It's, you know.
It's right. Is it part of a ritual? Maybe.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely referencing something. But yeah, so all of that stuff was basically squeezed into this tiny clip of comedy. But you know, if you see it for what it is, they're basically just kind of just telling you they're throwing the fishing pole out there, and whoever takes the bait takes the bait.
Right.
You know,
To
so
those that have
it's
ears,
just-
let them hear. Like we've talked about on past casts, that it's their, you know, they're aware of the soul contracts and the karmic debts and how it's going to impede their progress if they have a soul debt to us people. So we have to contract with them. We have to be accepting and consenting to their behavior in order for them to be able to progress as far as they have. So they get away with it by telling us, like you said, hidden in plain sight, that they're making these, you know, altar confessions through by way of media, through music and movies and, you know, little comedy bits like this. They're, you know, the truth is stranger than fiction. They're able to blurt it out, laugh as a result. So it puts it into a container context of how you're supposed to relate to that like breadth of information that you just heard. And then it, you know, releases them from the responsibility of it, because they've told you like, we're bad people, like
yeah.
we're eating your children.
Yeah.
We're enslaving you for a profit.
So
Ha, 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 ha.
okay, so question. So does it come from a place of redemption, or does it come from a place of ritual still? I wonder.
I think it's one and the same, that like life itself, like, you know, if you believe that we're like born sinners, that we're like inclined to make mistakes and to trip and fall, that we're constantly in a state of redemption. So our lifestyle itself becomes a way of ritual, that even as like we know our ancestors in archaic sense to like do certain rituals to make the rain come. But yeah, if you don't take care of the ecosystem properly, if you're not like tending your garden, then it's not going to interact with the weather in the same way. So even though it's ritual and it seems so like just separate into culture, it does kind of fuse into science and nature and our soul's journey through all of humanity's timeline. And the ritual are kinds of the things that carry us through from one period of humanity to another, that certain elements have persisted throughout it, like the idea of marriage, the idea of family, the idea of nationhood, like, and the idea of sacredness, or you know, repetitive practices that will garnish you more energy. And essentially that's what they're aiming to do. All these people that are in positions of power they recognize that everything is energy, the universe at large, and the more they can siphon from it, the more that they can have of conscious life experience.
Right. For sure.
I know I sure tangents from that.
No,
Let me
no,
start.
no. That's perfect because that's kind of exactly that's Pizzagate. That's literally the only reason why it exists.
Right.
It's human currency, and it's the
Right.
most valuable thing we have
Right.
running the globe right now. And that's terrifying, and that's supposed to be terrifying. It's supposed to be frowned upon that humans are being used as slaves and more,
Mhm.
and children at that. Children. And we've touched on this almost every single cast, like every it's not even peppered in, like almost every single time we have a cast, we always talk about, please, somebody think of the children.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because honestly, everything is interconnected, and at the bottom line is, if you follow the money, it goes right back, it goes down to that human currency. So it is all interconnected, from the vaccine down, from the lockdowns down. Everything is connected. All of this stuff, all these false flags, all of these gun shootings, all of it really does boil down to this, which is why when Pizzagate blew up a few years ago, they had to have that immediately had that psyop happen at that pizza parlor. Immediately,
Right.
like weeks after. And I forgot the gentleman's name, but anyway, Elefante, I forgot his name.
I'm
But
forgetting his-
basically, his name literally translates to "I eat infants" or "I love infants." Basically, like his name. I mean, I forgot his name. Guy.
I'm blanking on it right now.
Yeah.
Heard one.
But anyway, the pizza parlor owner. The whole thing was, if you haven't heard, this person was a conspiracy theorist who followed Pizzagate and decided that it was his job to save the children that were in the basement. Blah blah blah. I guess decided to shoot up the place. I don't know if anybody was injured or shot. I don't think so. I think it would have been a much bigger story. But anyway, so that happened just weeks after this Pizzagate thing started blowing up on the internet. So if you follow these patterns, you kind of already see that, okay, well, obviously this is something we need to follow.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're trying to brush it away so quickly. And the same thing goes with these mass shootings. Again, the last big one we had was the Vegas one. That was the biggest one. We were like, oh my God. And we thought about it forever and ever and ever.
Mm.
Since then, they've just been a dime a dozen. We don't give a shit about neither, none of them. Except
Yeah, they don't get the
for-
same press anymore.
Even the Sacramento one. Was it Sacramento? The one that just happened where 15 people were shot. 15 people
Oakland?
were shot.
Oh, I
even
forget.
that one.
It's
Even
somewhere.
that one was kind of brushed under the rug after 2 or 3 days.
Mhm.
San Jose. It was San Jose. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
I apologize. It was San Jose. But yeah, so it just they throw these things at us, and it really is bombardment. One after another. Why? Because they don't want us to see at the end of the day what the bottom line is, which is
Mhm.
the immigration issue that's happening right now, which is just child trafficking, just out in the forefront. It's happening here in Long Beach. We have 400 kids. It was 900. We have 400 kids still in the Long Beach Convention Center today.
Wow.
And nobody's been able to go in there but save 2 reporters for 50 minutes. No local reporters. Long Beach local news has not been able to gain access in there. And they've been the number one news team that's been trying to get in there. KTLA doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? ABC
Right.
doesn't give a shit. What the fuck do they care? It's locals that are trying to like find out what the fuck's going on in there. No, it's nothing. Silence. And the mayor's silent about it. Nothing. Oh, we're helping. Don't worry. That's what they're saying over there. And you see the mess that's happening over there. Like, we're going to fall for it? Nothing. It's a ghost town down there. If you drive down there, you can't see shit.
Oh, wow.
It's
Yeah, there's
insane.
nothing about it in mainstream. I would have had no idea if you hadn't mentioned.
They're still there. They're still there. It's gross. And mind you, I'm in a city by a port. I don't know what the hell's going on down here right now. It's sick.
We've seen videos about, like shipping containers and how,
You know what I want to bring up too again, and we did touch on this, I think, in the last one or the one before that. Jelaine Maxwell. She's about to go to trial this month. I'm not sure
July.
she's gonna make
In July,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. July. Yeah. Well, yeah, July tomorrow.
In a couple, yeah.
Tomorrow? I don't know what today is. But yeah, pretty soon, a couple weeks basically.
Mhm.
She has she's gonna start to stand trial. She's the last one. She's freaking Highlander. You know what I mean? Like, she has all that information. She could take down so many people. And with the absence of McAfee and the obvious non-suicide of that was, and all his warnings and all those all of his cryptic tweets, and they weren't even that cryptic. They were just straight up, dude, I'm not suicidal. I'm not going to kill myself. Just so you guys
Right.
know.
If
know
I
what I
die in prison,
Right.
I didn't do
So-
it myself.
That being said, I don't see them. Remember last time I told you, no, they're not going to do that to her. She's going to go to trial. She's going to take a plea deal. I really do think they can take her out. and we're just not going to just fucking give a shit about it.
I know it's interesting that it's even taken this long for it to like come to trial, because I forget how long it took for Harvey Weinstein, but that seemed like a quicker turnaround. But this is, it's been a year since she was caught, and the story like really blew up about that, and human trafficking was really at the forefront in the beginning of COVID, because there was a huge surge as people were suddenly at home more, on their devices more, and like kids were often vulnerable. There were, predators had more liberties and stuff like that. There was more ways to exploit people online as we transitioned to all these digital spaces. And, so there was this huge surge of like the Save the Children, movements back in last July. And I forget what day is the like Human Trafficking Awareness Day in July. I think it's like July 21st or around there, towards the end of the month. But yeah, there was all these marches and stuff like that. And then that whole, awareness of this as like kind of a cornerstone or an underbelly of like our global society eventually just kind of lost its steam, or they're just like the attention got diverted to the next Look-a-Bear. And, and now even this whole year, like occasionally she's come up in the news. Like we brought it up when there was those like, there's been no like mugshot, right, of when she got entered in process, but there was that picture of her between bars, looking very despondent and sobbed, like with a black eye and all, and
there's been
like
one more release since then.
Yeah, where they said something about her getting a new cellmate or something, or she's in danger.
Interesting.
So like we don't know about this.
Look what might happen.
It's like they're like laying the scene, and but I mean, the instant that she was arrested, the hashtag Maxwell didn't kill herself, was everywhere, and being blocked subsequently on all the media platforms. But like everybody saw where this was heading, and there was even a story recently that the wardens for Jeffrey Epstein's cell are admitting that they falsified evidence, and are now going to be making a proper plea of like what actually happened. Sorry guys, we lied.
It's so funny. I was watching an interview with Jay Dyer and Sean Atwood. If you guys don't know, Sean Atwood is a former drug dealer / sort of mob boss in England, and he was picked up. He served his time. Did a bunch of red pill research. Anyway, he wrote a couple books on his experience in prison and his experience with Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, because apparently he had ties to the mob as well, so he knew him personally. Worked with him, but apparently Robert Maxwell didn't lift a finger. Basically, he just kind of overran certain drug rings.
I guess, Mossad, I believe, all their family, the Maxwells, her and her sisters too.
Well, two of the sisters work in tech. Ghislaine works in child trafficking, and the dad also obviously is a child trafficker and mob boss. And I don't know what his day job is. I don't remember. Something in politics, I believe. How funny. Okay. That's like the one thing I don't remember, but I know all his dirty laundry. But anyway, so Sean Atwood was basically describing how never in the history of the world of that prison have two guards fallen asleep at the same time, and the cameras didn't work at the same time that the guards fell asleep. Right. He's like, never in the history of that prison that ever happened. Never in the history of any prison that happened. I just started like, wait, how has nobody ever said this before? Because it was almost like a light bulb went off. It's like, you know this stuff, but then you don't know this stuff. Like, you don't really think about it. And it's like, well, duh. Like, why the fuck did we not question these people before? It's been a year and a half, right? He passed away in 2019.
Right. And
so almost 2 years.
Yeah, in August, I believe, of 2019. And
holy shit.
And yeah, they're coming out with it now, and like nobody cares. Like nobody's following that story. Everybody's listening to Britney Spears conservative shit.
I suppose maybe that's why
headlines.
Maybe maybe it's part of that whole redemption thing. Maybe that's their whole olive branch. Maybe it's part of it, because not only is that coming out, the Wuhan lab leak is coming out. Like all this stuff's just unraveling all of a fucking sudden.
All these confessions, but at the same time, like people are so dismissive of it because our cognitive dissonance is so implanted that like we're so committed to the stories they initially told us. It's
but you guys said,
it's like all the people that are vaccinated and still wearing their masks everywhere.
That drives me
like,
nuts.
But you said your whole plan was that you would get to this point, and then you didn't have. But but you're
It's-
still
How is it they're like follow the science for a whole fucking year, and then all of a sudden they just refuse
the
to follow
CDC doesn't know what they're talking
No
about.
fucking clue now. Didn't you guys hear the lab leak? Come on. Anyway, and then just a warning, we have a Delta virus coming.
Delta variant,
Delta variant, Delta Force.
because COVID is evolving. 2021, new year,
That
new
was-
me.
That was quick. That happens
Right.
quick, huh?
But they're preparing, like, and they're just like teasing it a little bit, where they're like, "Don't be too scared." But the variant though, because last year the whole thing was we were going to kill grandma. This year, won't somebody please think of the children?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
we're
it can
gonna kill the
affect
children,
people
yeah.
12 and under.
Yeah.
The
Now.
Delta variant can, but 12 and under can't get the vaccine yet. So, oh, what are we gonna do?
Oh no. Yeah. I don't know.
Lockdown.
Oh, you know what? They are experimenting on babies now. A 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an 8-year-old got a trial vaccine done. I read it in passing, was in an article on Daily Wire? Maybe it was a Daily Wire.
But human trials on children?
Uh-huh.
Heaven
Dang, I
forbid
would-
we do animal testing, but
Let's I'm gonna see if I can find it, because it's kind of an unbelievable one, but yeah, it's legit. I'll have to find it again.
I mean, I believe
Sure.
it, but
Yeah,
it's
I
just
mean, yeah,
interesting where like our minds
And
are.
she
that, like,
volunteered. She volunteered her kids. Like, she was like, "Here, take them. Why not?"
it's for their safety. What a brave
Uh-huh.
mother.
Right. Well, we'll see. Right. I don't know. That's scary as hell. I don't know. I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. I don't understand being that scared about that scared. If nothing is happening around you, I can see if my neighbors were coughing up blood and there were zombies walking around, then maybe okay, you know what? Maybe
Right.
I'll try it. But everybody, there's more healthy now. I mean, what happened to the flu, first of all?
Right.
You know what I mean? So where's that at? So everybody just had COVID, apparently. Nobody had the flu, so it's like
We fixed it.
we just kind of forgot. We just kind of
Right.
forgot that exists, and
Right.
whoever survived. Now, I'm not going to, don't get me wrong.
Like
I
people
got
died of the flu
COVID,
every
but
year, and we didn't care.
Either
before.
way, that's exactly either way. So now this year, nobody died of the flu, but everybody died of COVID. It's like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
that's not right. Like, tell us the truth. Like, come on now. It's I don't know, man. It loses me. It's first of all, COVID's I'm over it. I'm over COVID. I'm over George Floyd. Those are the two subjects I never want to talk about again. But as far as these kids go, man, I think the lockdowns had a lot to do with that as well. And we kind of already knew that, because this thing didn't start in July. It started in April. This whole going down the rabbit hole thing, where people just started, oh, look at Ellen, she's wearing a ankle bracelet, ankle bracelet, right?
Mhm.
Oprah is on like a Navy ship because she's being held hostage. She's in prison because of all
Right,
the
they all had their ankle bracelets.
Right?
Hanks was like in front of that door that had like the
barcode,
code
yeah.
number, on the top. It's like, where
Yeah.
are you? Rita Hayworth with her like living room or whatever reflection in her sunglasses, but then
But
the
she's
beach
on the
behind
beach.
her and stuff.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And then becoming Greek citizens just to host the American inauguration party. But why? I thought
Right.
you left America.
Exactly. All the Chrissy Teigen tweets that just started throwing up out of nowhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like this stuff, people were on,
been a
people were
year.
put on lockdown and they got bored and they sort of became red pilled. And you know what? I gotta be honest. Given the nature of everything that's happened, nothing has come of it as far as violence is concerned. As far as I know, there hasn't been some sort of mass ploy to like take down the government and all this, aside from the insurrection that happened a few months ago.
And like you said, the moment
which-
at Comet
which
Ping
wa-
Pong, like that
a big
shocks
nothing.
me that there hasn't
Exactly.
been more. And James Alefantis, that was his name.
Thank you.
But that if you look at James Alefantis's Twitter and stuff before the event, they have all these insane pictures of like weird things where he had like a child like taped to the table and they're like, oh, you like can't get enough pizza. I forget what they said, but like something but like that's not in any way funny. Like that's
Right.
weird. But it was like they're kind of like dark humor and they would show pictures of their like artwork there, or they showed the construction, how they got a new basement designed and stuff like that. It's like, why do you have to invest so much in the basement pizza parlor?
It was on his Instagram as well. All that's yeah. All
Yeah,
that
and
stuff
he
was on his
posts this
Instagram.
stuff. So it amazes me that like not only did they immediately dismiss the guy who went there and like and you're right, I don't remember if anyone was actually injured or killed from that, but
I don't think
that
so.
I think he just like stormed in with a gun and like went to the basement and stuff and was trying to find where they were keeping the kids, and
Yeah, I don't even
apprehended
think he shot. I don't know. I don't
I
know.
I
but
need to remember the story, but
yeah.
that it amazes me that there hasn't been more reaction than that, because even with initially when Maxwell was released, everyone was waiting for her to like do those initial drops. All the Q folk were like, the storm is coming, you know, like it's time, it's happening.
Mhm.
You know, like
That was a good Alex Jones.
get the popcorn.
That was good. I like it. Yeah,
but
yeah. That was another thing that I think I honestly, and this is just a sidebar. I think Q is a big fucking psyop too.
right?
That was a big what a crap shoot that was. You know what I mean? They had a lot of interesting
Right.
things to say. They had a lot of interesting things that they were not wrong about.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then I don't know what happened with that. It unraveled just like every motherfucking thing else. It's just it pisses me off that we can't have nice things. You know what I mean?
See,
But,
this is
it
why.
is what it is. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know, Meeks.
But yeah, they've had a whole laundry list of stuff that they're shooting up the kids with now already, first at birth. Imagine now that being the new thing that, oh, a child was brought into the world, they better get their COVID vaccine, within like the initial days
Right.
of life or whatever, or the first year or whatever their schedule is. But to be in that state of mind where we don't believe a human being like coming into the world can be like perfect and pure anymore, that like it needs all these like interventions and whatever through science in order to even make it be able to like interface with Earth, then that means that we're in new territories now. Like that's an insane place to be. And all the hypocrisy that we've experienced this whole year, how you can like gather at Costco but not at church, and all of those kinds of things, like, or the people that are running the COVID testing sites, are they having to self quarantine for 2 weeks, each of those testing employees, because obviously they're coming into contact with the most people out of everyone. So, and the way that you're seeing masks just littered all over the floor instead of having like hazmat special bins for them or whatever, or they issue a stipend every 9 months or whatever, but not a like official actual mask that could prevent a virus, not just like little flimsy pieces of cloth you bought on Etsy or the checkout line.
For me in my neighborhood, the kicker is the uptick in homeless folks, but they all got their mask on. You know what I mean? They're all hanging out outside of the market, outside of the stores, just and it's there's quite a bit. I think it's up 32% in the last year here in Long Beach alone. In the last
just Long Beach, not even
year.
California.
Nope,
Wow.
just Long Beach.
Wow.
In the last year, I think we have 100,000 homeless here. I think. I could be
believe
mixing
it.
that. I could be mixing that with another number from another city, but I kind of think that's what it is here. Seems about right. But it's just it seems like, okay, let anybody do what they want in your neighborhood so long as you have a mask on. Basically, is my point. It's like no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter how you act, so long as you have a mask on your face, you get to just pretty much do whatever you want.
Right.
It's those that aren't wearing the mask that'll be like, oh my God, I am offended by you.
Right.
What is your problem? Meanwhile, Cracky down the road is cussing at me, cussing at you, cussing at, the lady in the car next to me. You know what I mean?
Safely through
That
a
doesn't
mask.
offend you. Safely through a mask. Exactly. So good for them. Exactly. Safety first. Yeah. So it's bizarro world. It's quite backwards.
Right.
And again, as you said, it's hypocrisy at its best, at its furthest from the truth. And it seems like nobody seems to see it. Everybody outside seems like, I really don't. Like, the mandate has been lifted as of June 15th. The mandate has been lifted. So we're gonna, in 2 weeks. Yeah, in 2 weeks it's gonna be a month. Everybody is still. I've not seen a handful of people not wear the mask. About maybe 5 since I've been out in the public. Since these last 2 weeks, maybe 5 others, and I'm one of them. I still count me. I count you guys. So it's just that I've seen, a handful of other people like not wearing, but then no mask. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
oh, and it's me and old. Oh, it's always me and old white men. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I know my rights. Yeah, it's always me and old white guys. It's funny. So yeah, so it's that's basically the mask mandate, the lockdowns. All these are look-a-bear to and it's so funny that the lockdowns, ironically, actually brought about this red pill movement, where people are now more aware of Pizzagate. People are now more aware of all these names and how they're all connected to each other and how they all went to visit this one mysterious island, from Tom Hanks to Chrissy Teigen to Kevin Spacey to, all these Hollywood people, all these Hollywood elites. Now we get to connect Isaac Cappy to Tom Hanks, and we would have never done that otherwise.
Right.
A handful of people, the crazies, have known for a while. The 9/11ers have known for a while.
Right.
But now it's been spread throughout the entire country.
Even new woke people, that's like one of your first red pills you get into, that like
It's 9/11.
it's
ma'am.
9/11 and human trafficking and pizza.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I get it. But
Are
human
one of the-
trafficking's a newer one.
It's
sort
a
of
newer one. So like the new woke people, like when you're introduced to the idea of conspiracy, usually that's one of the red pills that does it, is the idea of the, human trafficking and satanic sacrifices and all of those kinds of things. And yeah, that even when all of this starts surfacing through social media, that they did have such a reaction of the fact checkers and posts being deleted and put on timeout and all those kinds of things really surged just since after Ghislaine Maxwell got taken into custody, supposedly. And that now that even as these things are coming to light, that like the Wuhan lab and the guards of Epstein's cell, like it's already washed over. And when, less than a year ago, if you shared reports about Maxwell's accounts of Bill Clinton getting the foot massages from like 2 13-year-old girls or something like that, but that was the extent of it, of what they shared. Like that was their, she made, that she made a plea or whatever. That, and even in the charges that they're holding against her, they're like quoting at 14 or 15-year-olds, and like a couple of them, like there's 3 people that are seeking justice from 20 years ago, are the kinds of things, rather than it being like ongoing industry through and of by the island. And that as these conspiracy theories and stuff are surfacing online and circulating through social media, that then suddenly they came out with all these documentaries about Epstein, and now the newest one that dives deeper into about Maxwell. And even as they're somewhat kind of condemning it, it's also like financier, socialite.
Wow. Yeah.
This is the way they live. I haven't watched them either.
Yeah.
I can't stomach myself to do it.
No.
But it's like, I get the gist. They're evil. I get it. But I don't need to hear like their tone of how they're appeasing it. But any of the clips or mentions of it that I have seen have always been putting it in that kind of light. And if they were any more detailed and accurate, then you would think there would be more of an uprising in response, to know that like world leaders and the most powerful and richest people in the world are operating in this way. And that like it's common, it's like well known now, and yet we're still like Prince Andrew. There was all these stories surfacing of like, oh no, it's implicating Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, like their names
going to bring him up.
They like, there was accounts of Tom Hanks too, and special articles like redeeming him of like I remember people mentioning who love Tom Hanks would say like, oh, I don't believe he did all that, but they were aware that there was accusations about him. So even for it to be that commonplace, these types of things. But that there's been this whole like marketing campaign to help steer the narrative this whole time since it's come up with Maxwell.
He was 100% one of my favorite people too. So it was a little heartbreaking to find out that he's a monster.
And anyone who knows you and follows you understands that there's something going on with you and Lost Glove.
dang, you brought up who did you bring up? You brought up Prince Andrew. I was going to bring him up as well, so I'm really happy that you mentioned him. You know what I was going to say though is that I think especially in the last year we have several times have made several attempts, you know, to bring especially social media attention and uprising to the human trafficking / child trafficking thing. Even the uprising with the Cuties documentary that was on Netflix. We tried. You know, we did. We gave it the old college try. Like, this isn't appropriate. We can't have this. Isn't, you know.
Cancel Netflix.
We do exactly. And some people actually legit boycotted Netflix.
Right.
Netflix did actually take a dip on that one, which, you know, so you know, people are you know, like I said, we're trying. I think the only I totally lost it. There was another one I was going to bring up, but yeah, that was interesting. That was probably one of the last big hurrahs that we did, aside from more recently, I guess, would be the voter fraud thing that we're trying to not child trafficking, but things that we're trying to be like, wait a minute, and then people are being
Right.
silenced. We're like, wait a minute, and then people are being silenced. So it's not like we're not trying. We just have to find other avenues to get all the stuff out there.
Or like the
I mean,
GameStop.
to bring the awareness out there. You know what I mean. So it's just it's at the end of the day, it's pretty sick. So I mean, you can't look at a commercial, you can't watch a television show, you can't, you know, go to a movie, you can't really go to these things without having to feel like, oh my God, I gotta boycott everything, pretty much, because it's out there. No matter where you look, it's out there. Blue's Clues has the fucking the swirly symbols
Right.
all over the place. It's just blown up. You know what I mean? So it's like there's no, unless you shield yourself from it, or you become vigilant towards it,
And this isn't just
and
like
you shield yourself
conspiracy
that way. No,
stuff,
it's not. It's
as
out
we've
there.
mentioned before, like this is on like FBI like watch lists of these are the symbols, these are the code words
Right.
that pedophiles use to communicate with each other. Like
Right.
it's established. Like,
And let
in
me tell you this,
criminal systems.
more and more on Instagram, and I send you these screenshots every so often. There are men, single men with children, public page, and the only thing in their bio is a pizza.
Mhm.
And there's been, I don't know how many I've sent you. I think I sent you at least 3 or 4. Like, look, Kamiko, look what I found. You know, so, you know, they're out there. They're not hiding it anymore. They don't have to hide it anymore. There's no reason to. I mean, everybody, I mean, this whole idea of, and again, it creeps me out because it takes me back to like, what if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and their pizza, their love for pizza was kind of part of it too. And that was in the 80s. Like, that's something we grew up with. And it's
And then
kind
being
of sick to
reptiles
go
and
that
all
far
living
back,
in the
and
sewers and tunnels.
right? You know, I mean,
Or
you
even
go
like we've
that far
talked
back,
about
I suppose,
that the Uber Eats commercial where they're like, when all you can pizza is think about.
yeah,
All things. They didn't pick like a circular, you know, thing or a tire or whatever. They picked a mattress.
a dirty ass mattress.
A dirty ass mattress on the side of the street.
Right. It wasn't even the shape of a pizza. Like, they could have used
One of
anything
those
triangular.
rectangular pizzas. Yeah,
Right?
yeah. They didn't even do something
Exactly.
triangular where it's like, oh, it's a
Exactly.
slice. Like it's a rectangular like thing that he ends up dragging to his car off the street.
Gross. Yeah.
That's when all you can pizza is think about.
Mhm.
So like they're saying these things. There was another that was like a billboard before they had the commercial where it was somebody that was like in bed reaching through their phone to grab a pizza
Oh,
slice.
I've seen that one
Bring
too.
it
Yeah.
into their bed. And that was like right around the time that we had the whole Wayfair scandal. Remember that?
Yeah.
And like even that's been brushed under where we don't
Yeah.
care anymore. But you know, and if you don't remember, the Wayfair scandal was when people became aware that there was items being sold on Wayfair for extortionate prices that were named the same names as children who had gone missing. And that would be like a $5,000 you know, like wardrobe.
Like a cabinet, like a
Yeah, like
straight
cabinet.
up like office cabinet. Yeah. Industrial. I don't
Right.
know. Yeah. I remember Wayfair creep me the hell out big time.
And people even called, you know, and like there's, you know, a whole deep dive you can go into with this. So, you know, like this presence of human trafficking has been established. The, you know, Biden and Harris's like hesitancy to address the border crisis, you know, should be telling. Like you're saying, it's having effects on, you know, different cities throughout the country, like in Long Beach, where people are being held or housed. And they've also reports a couple months ago of how people are being relocated. So like, where are you taking all these children throughout
Right.
the country farther away from home, how does that
Right.
like resolve
They're definitely not taking them back
problem.
home.
Right.
That's for sure.
You know,
That's sick.
And what's
Yeah,
the
they're definitely not going
conditions of
home.
all these? And you know, it's as dark as it is to think about, and like obviously we don't like to have these discussions. We'd much rather not like have to be talking about these things, but we have to because it is such, you know, one of the currencies that our society presently runs on. You know, there's three major industries, which is you know, like guns or arms, drugs, and then human trafficking. And the thing about human trafficking is that like when you sell a drug, the person uses it and it's done and you lost that product. But with human trafficking, sometimes you can use them multiple times.
Mhm.
It's a very efficient way of like, you know, capitalism or whatever. And, you know, and even in these Epstein reports, it's very like consolidated to you know, a couple of accusers who were in the range of like 14, 15, where it's like horrifying, but still there's people who could be like, well, you know, you know, they're almost teenagers, or, you know, like they're like the way the culture is in California and stuff, and the way you see children presented in, you know, on Disney and Nickelodeon, all these kinds of shows where they're like little Bratz dolls and stuff like that, you know, and the weird relationships that they have with their producers on the shows and everything. Like they keep trying to report these things in that context as if it's, you know, but in actuality, as different organizations like Underground Railroad, I forget what it's called exactly, but Tim Ballard's organization, he's one of the people that like goes undercover and like breaks up trafficking rings and stuff like that. And he's, you know, reported on countless accounts where, you know, like children, like babies, like 3-month-olds are put into these type of trafficking like rings and systems. Like children are actually bred from the children that are abused, get pregnant as a child, give birth to that child, and then that child is just born into the trafficking and added to their like stock or whatever.
There's actually a
Without
book
a birth
out.
certificate, without a social security number, like never documented, like we're essentially, you know.
There's a book out actually that actually straight up ties Epstein to a basically a breeding farm.
Right.
It was basically, he's like, I have an idea.
Mm.
Like, I have an idea. Let's do it this way. And him and Maxwell both were basically
Right.
breeding kids for this specific reason, which, I mean, at when it's sick, but it's like, well, if they're doing that, I'm like, how much more can you do? How much more do you need? Where you have to steal children on top of making your own,
Right.
on top of stealing ours, on top of stealing from another country. You know what I mean? So it's like who is using, like, exactly how big is that market?
Right.
You know
And
what I mean?
the interesting thing that like people just assume that there's like a small percentage of criminals that are, you know, like it's mob people or whatever, you know, like gangs, stuff that would do that kind of thing. But really the vast majority of customers or clientele for, you know, that pay for sex are affluent white males who are married with children and have their mortgage and their job and everything and live a seemingly normal, upstanding life. And then on the side, you know, when they go on their business vacations or whatever, they're late at the office, they're purchasing children, or, you know, or maybe prostitutes or whatever. Like, you know, there's a lot of issues with the whole sex industry, and like how OnlyFans had this whole, you know, upsurge and wave over
Right.
this year since the lockdown, that a lot of people were losing their jobs, a lot of people were at home more, you know, it was
And in
lot of
fact, I
people-
bet you OnlyFans is part of the reason why people aren't going back to work. There's no reason to. They figured it out.
they figured it out. And
Yeah.
you know, like, and but the thing about OnlyFans is that it seemed a lot of people end up on this this conveyor belt into deeper into the industry of it, that at first you think you're just like posting a few like cute pics in lingerie and bikinis, and then next thing you know, you're starting to get like solicited through the DMs of
Exactly.
you know, like, oh, show me a picture of your feet, oh, you know, how about you do this, or how about you do a video, or how about like we go on a date, or how about, you know, and it keeps leading them into more and more. And if the price is right, if you suddenly you're getting offered like 10, 15, 20, $50,000 or something that maybe you say no to it the first time, but like if you're being offered again and again and again, suddenly if it hits you at the right moment where you're desperate enough, who knows? And then, you know, all of a sudden people find themselves prostituting when they thought they were just like posting cute pics online.
Yeah.
You
Wow,
know, to
that's
make a buck for
scary.
it.
That's
So-
scary. And maybe that was part of the plan too. Thinking about it. Part of the lockdown too was to let's get this ball rolling and see how that works out for us. Dude, wow. That's
And we've
brilliant.
seen, and there's been videos like on the World Economic Forum too, of how they have like these sex robots, or like, you know, how people that's like part of the way of the future for people to have sex dolls to, you know, replace real relationships, or they've shown people that have married their sex dolls or things like that, that like humanity's in such a bizarre state that we're so disconnected and disassociated from our sexual sacral energy that it's kind of like, you know, shooting blindfolded or handing a gun to a monkey, you know, or like a fire, like having the house on fire and like you got to put out, or you have to like harness the hose. I don't know, but
Well, in a China shop.
yeah, like that we were being so destructive because we have such power and we don't know how to put it through the right conduits. And, you know, if we did have the proper rituals, and then we, you know, like morning wood is a thing, you know, like it's there for a reason. Like when you first wake up and you rise with the sun, like your kundalini, your sacral energy is like sparked and exerted. And if you know how to like funnel that and like whip it into a current, then you can use it to vitalize your body. And that's part of like your daily bread. That's your like daily offering of ki and chi and life force. But if we expel it, if we spill Hermes cup and like exert it into all these habits of like porn addictions and masturbation and then even mixing it into our currency money, where now it's not just taking our body's sacral energy, but now we're also taking our like money currency energy that we had collected or you know garnered
Worked for basically, yeah.
worked for. You're still putting extra
That's
life
exerting
force
energy,
into
yeah,
it, and you're so
exactly.
you're like spilling from both ends in that sense. And they've put this in, and it, you know, and it has all these other repercussions of, it's not just a singular thing of, people like to dismiss it of like, oh, well, you know, like men have sex drives and they're, you know, designed to be attracted to multiple and younger women. And, you know, it's in, you know, sociologically, this is how it used to, you know, whatever. But the inheritance of human, of being able to forge a family, the legacy that can give to us is far more powerful than whatever like one-off like pleasure somebody has from those moments. But like we've talked about in past casts too, about like the satanic sacrifices and all these kinds of things, that they're targeting children because they do have so much of their sacral energy still intact from the, you know, heavenly world or whatever before they came earthside, and that hasn't been, you know, drained yet. That's why they are so targeted. And Aleister Crowley wrote in his, you know, books about all these different sex acts and rituals that you were supposed to do to harness and master as much energy as you possibly could, because that's what was going to make you a divine being, to be able to have your awakening. And that's where a lot of the journey even gets confused for a lot of people, is that I think people find their ways into that kind of like sect of deviancy and demonic behavior, because either they're like, it's through the money, and then once you have so much money, what other pleasures can be had, and you know, and like people find themselves that way. Or if I could have any woman in the world, I'm, you know, like Elvis Presley or whatever, where he's like, I might as well raise one myself to be just the way I want her.
So okay, I have a question real quick.
Sorry, yeah, I'm all over
I want to bring this up. So these celebrities, these Hollywood elite, right? Do they Are they doing it because they have the money to do it, or are they doing it because they're being forced to do it in order to raise rank?
Right. I think it's one and the same. There's like there's tons of stories of people. I watched a video even on Rita Hayworth earlier about how her like second husband, or no, first husband, kept trying to encourage her to like, you know, do the casting couch to advance her career, and she didn't want to sleep with the different producers and stuff, and he would beat her for it, for like messing up on them getting the bag or getting that contract and stuff like that. So in Hollywood, there are a lot of relationships where they're open and promiscuous in that sense, for like the advantage they can gain from having relations with each other and stuff like that. And then there's also the once you're in certain circles, you know, like it's a big club and we're not in it,
Right.
to be on that like level and echelon of people, you do have to do your like certain initiations and have your like with the Illuminati or the Masons, they have to make all these what do you call it? They make all these like agreements or like oaths that if you disobey or offend the oath, then they can like kill you or you'll like suffer these different disciplines or punishments for obeying your oath. So like it creates this checks and balances that they can make sure that certain secrets, certain, you know, aspects of humanity stay and remain hidden, by implicating people that, oh, if you come forward, then we have this condemning evidence of you. So there's that too, where people are like, either they're doing it intentionally to advance their career, or they're like extorted into it, or they're like tricked into it. Because obviously we know like substance abuse is really rampant in Hollywood and all these different industries as well. So it's easy to get someone into a state of inebriation and then take condemning photos of them in different situations. So, you know, they do have all these different honeypots and ways to what's the word, where you like
To entice?
no, where you like not frame somebody, but you have them like give you money to
Blackmail.
keep their blackmail. Yeah. So
Okay,
I
so
think-
basically that was just Lane's business. That was
Right.
all that was solely her business, is blackmail. So yes, she was
world
a child
leaders, yeah.
trafficker, but her motive was just straight up,
Mhm.
I want your money because look what I have on you. Basically, that's all.
Right.
That was her only job. So the child trafficking thing was basically just the only way to go about it. So, you know, is she a monster? Yes, but there are bigger monsters afoot. She just happens to be the only one left.
Yeah,
know?
they keep trying to find the fall guy, and even, you know, like a lot of the documentaries and stuff on Epstein, like try to make it seem like he was the singular evil entity
Bullshit,
that had
yeah.
all this stuff. And, you know, like it came out last year too that Epstein's Island is a dime a dozen. There's like hundreds of islands just like Epstein's that operate the same way. Biden, you know, reportedly has an island not too far from Epstein's. I forget if it was called like Waterhorse or something like that. You can like look it up on Google Maps and stuff. That, you know, there's places like this, and people who have visited Epstein's Island since, you know, have found weird activity where it seems like there were like contractors there and stuff like that. Or when you go to the building, that a lot of it's like really shoddy construction that's above ground, where it seems like almost fake
It
little
is
buildings or
It's a
like stage
facade.
buildings.
Yeah,
and
the
there's like
building's a facade.
yeah, and there's like doors that are painted on,
Mhm.
and then there's like a really big wooden door that has like a bar that shuts, but on the front, so like you would be locking people in on the inside.
Yeah.
So but there's, you know, there's other islands than just his, and even him, of like where did he get his money from. But what was interesting though is that I saw another video recently about his name, Eric Weinstein, I believe, that had a theory of geometric unity, which is all about how like platonic solids and geometries create a like unified field of existence. So a lot of what all the spiritual and new agey people have been talking about for a while, but like he had more of a scientific approach to it. And he said that he had several meetings with Epstein because Epstein was financing through Harvard and different organizations, and that he realized just how involved Epstein was with the NIH and a lot of those like organizations that are high in the science field. NSA, I believe, in or not NSA, but National Science Association, but not National Security. So I don't know what their abbreviation is.
I don't know.
But yeah, things like that. So it seemed as though Epstein had his hand, and which is where it like tied in that he had such a connection with the Gates, that they would be flying over 400, times or whatever, that aside from just being a client of his, that they were very interconnected. And it makes more sense with the COVID and how all this has transpired since their relationship. And
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go
oh
ahead.
no, yeah.
Another thing fake Alec Jones said to me was interesting was that Melinda Gates is no longer part of the satanic elite,
Right.
whatever he said. She's now going to be on, I don't know, basically calling that she's trying to redeem herself. Like, why on earth, why is that even necessary to say? You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even necessary to say, oh, she's come to the light side. Or I don't remember what he said. I don't remember his exact words, but it was just like, there was no reason for that. There was no, okay, so they got a divorce, big effing deal. There was no reason to mention that side, that specific part where, oh, now she's come to the good side of whatever.
Right.
Not to suggest that she is. I don't think so. On personally, I think this is just a financial thing. I think that divorce is a financial thing for them, and nothing more. But yeah. So this, this child trafficking thing has been. There's been warnings, and there's been people who tried to warn us, and they've all been killed, including including Epstein, I suppose. Before he could say anything, maybe he was going to squeal, and this is why he's been taken out. McAfee, same thing. He had too much information. Anthony Bourdain, Chester Bennington. There's others. Isaac Cappy, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, I think we were gonna try to pull up some Isaac Cappy videos for you guys, because that guy basically confessed to not only being part of it, but his best friend was part of it. He outed his best friend. I won't say his name on here. I don't know. Should I? Seth Green?
Yeah.
It's out.
Yep.
So it's just
he wasn't just some like conspiracy, not like he
he was
he
there.
started to like
And he
get his
straight
star
said-
to rise. He was a funny guy, and that had been in a couple movies. He started with Seth Green. They forged their relationship. Seth Green was already deep in it, and Isaac Cappy had the story of where he was at Seth Green's house, and he even took him to a room where there was like a fake wall, and he opened it up, and there was like a child's bedroom
Right.
in there, and he's like, oh, this is where we keep them. And that and he's in his videos confessed that like he's made dumb mistakes and he went too far with it, and like he it was his way of like trying to get his retribution for his soul, that he realized that there was more important things for that. And then
Right.
he wasn't suicidal, he said, but he was
He knew he
willing
was gonna die.
yeah, he knew he was going to die. He didn't want to
Yeah.
die, obviously, but that he knew where he was treading.
Right.
And he even released videos of like from inside of Epstein's temple, where they had like this weird like Rowan bath kind of place, and there were these like children that were like running water to wash off to some type of table that they must have like. But yeah, so but he did all these videos where he like put it to music or something. He's kind of
Yeah.
like rap a scabbing
Brackets and jackets. Yeah,
with
brackets and jackets.
That's right. It's Brackets and Jackets. Bringing it back for Brackets and Jackets. Special Epstein Island edition.
That's a
how he
catchy
rolls.
one.
They're great.
So okay, so before we close, before we end, how do we fix this?
Okay. Well, once a baby lives, think of the children. The biggest thing is that we need to recognize that humans are a commodity to certain industries of folk and sects of people, and that our babies, the children, those that are currently, prepubescent, and those that are yet unborn, our future generations, are all already being targeted and are at risk, and to keep our eyes on them at all times. Like with the masks and stuff, it was really easy to snatch children or to like, dress them different and take them away. Knowing the signs so that you can recognize if somebody's being trafficked, and maybe we could do another video on that, but you can recognize like even how a child is interacting with somebody, if somebody looks disoriented, or if they look emaciated, or they're not able to handle their own money, or there's a lot of different like clues so that you can be more aware of your surroundings. If you see a child that isn't being supervised, like be that second pair of eyes for them, because it only takes a second for, kids to get snatched up. But even aside from that, a lot of kids are runaways, and because of whatever they're going through in their household. So, it's not like any quick fix necessarily that we'll see the results within 6 months, but there's the different layers of bringing awareness to it, like having more marches for Save the Children like we did last year, not letting that die, supporting organizations that are taking down trafficking rings, having these difficult conversations, bringing them into context so that we don't just talk about the border and throw it away without bringing up child trafficking and putting into context of the bigger picture of what's all going down and how it plays together. Because I think the more that we can, show these cycles and these avenues, how kind of like all roads lead to Rome, like how all these different avenues and industries are leading to this harnessing of sexual energy from humanity, that will be much more intentional with how we interact with our own sexuality too, because it begins within. So if you're struggling with a porn addiction, like finding ways to address that, because you're feeding these industries that then are like, even if you're not looking at the child trafficking stuff on Pornhub, that it's still there, and funding Pornhub is still allowing that kind of stuff to persist. If you're a client of OnlyFans, then it's harder to discourage your daughter from growing up and then doing it at some point. And just being there for our children, investing in them more. In some ways, COVID did give us an opportunity to do that and be more present with them. And then in some ways it didn't. In some ways we ended up getting spread thinner and more dissociated from them, because now our children are on their devices all day. And, we have younger children, so we're not as like in this like space as other parents are, but knowing like who they're talking to and messaging online, and being mindful of all those DM conversations and how easy it is. Like we've seen videos where police would go undercover and start an Instagram profile, and within a couple hours, all of a sudden they were getting all these DMs of, other teenagers or grown men soliciting them, or like making suggestions for their pictures, or trying to connect and start that conversation. And, knowing the way that predators work, so you can help your children be prepared for that, being a space for your children to communicate with you and have these conversations, so they don't have to seek outside sources to have that attention and validation and support. And then teaching them how to foster their sexual energy, so they're not seeking it in relationship with each other and getting into these kind of conditions that would put them where they would need to have abortions, or be not have a chance at a more nuclear family because of our lack of control of our sexual energy during our early years.
Right. It's okay, and it sounds so lame, because I certainly wouldn't heed to this advice as a teenager. I certainly did not, in fact. But at this point, it's okay to teach abstinence, because they're not going to be abstinent.
Okay.
But at least the foundation's there. Or if the start is okay, you guys can hold hands. Or if the start is okay, you guys can kiss. If the start is okay, you guys. If the start isn't abstinence, they're just going to take it further away from abstinence. So I never really being a parent now, and I have a few years ahead of me before I even get to that age where they're thinking that way. But I'm not going to put it past me to encourage that, and that be the very first thing I encourage. Because like you said, from that, teenage promiscuity, it's not going away. It's been here forever. I was a huge fan as a teenager, so it's not like it's always going to be there. The thing is, from there, again, teen pregnancies, again, abortions, again, less of a chance for you yourself to raise your own family the way a family should be raised. And again, it's all connected. It all goes back basically back down to this. They don't want your children to have two parents. They don't want your children to have any parents. They want your children to be as dysfunctional as possible, as glued to their screens as possible, because that's going to be their chance to reach out and grab them, no matter what. Our children are not safe. And again, it's really hard to be able to say as a parent, what am I going to boycott and what am I not going to boycott? My youngest watches Blue's Clues, which is how I know about all the little swirlies and things like that. She loves Blue's Clues. You know, it's I get a kick out of it, you know, but it's all those symbolism. It's once you know, and there's no going back from knowing. That's why it's called red pill. That's why it's, you know, that's why it's called that. But it's tough. Can we go like, it's like, how do we choose? Whether you're a parent or not, these are symbols that we should be aware of. You know, because they're not just in kids shows; they're in adult programs as well. You know, it's called. I like to consider it or basically the veil being lifted up. You know, once you get to see them, once they start being exposed to you, it's like, oh, okay, now I know what I'm watching. The latest for me was Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It's like, whoa, this is satanic overload. What's going on here? You know, so you know, it's just.
The gloves came off. There's no holding back.
No kidding. Yeah, the gloves certainly came off on that one. But yeah, so those are all amazing points. You know, because that's honestly one thing that I struggle with. Because again, we have children, and even if you don't have children, it's still it should still be a scary thing to think about that human beings, people, bodies, people like us are being used over and over and over again, and beaten and God knows what. And it's happening in our own backyard, whether we want to see it or not, whether we do see it or not, it's there, you know? And you know, I like that you said that, because you really brought it down to like the most local level possible. Because truthfully, when it comes to kids, and I on a personal level, I learned this in the last year, it really does take a village.
Right.
It really does. Like, absolutely. So when, you know, and I do, because I am a parent, so I do, oh my God, that baby's by herself. I'm not leaving until somebody comes, you know, so, you know, it really does kind of take a village for things like that to happen. And most people, they don't have that awareness. And not because they're bad people, just because simply just don't have the awareness. That's it. And it's more evident now than ever, because they're trying so hard to throw anything they can at us to avoid the elephant in the room.
Right.
And at this point, it should be unavoidable. But look what happened with McAfee and the dismissiveness of his death. Yes, it is possible that he committed suicide. I've seen comments like that. Like, no, wait, he already said it wasn't.
Right.
He already said he wasn't going to do that.
He
Several
posted tweets
times
back in October saying
tatted his arm, for crying out loud.
Tatted whacked.
So, you know, it's just, I don't know. The world is bizarre, and it's a little bit lost. But again, the more we can see the commonplace, given that we're all human and we don't like humans to be trafficked, maybe we can start there.
Right.
We
all need something to unify about.
You don't like that, right? Let's be friends. So
isn't that interesting at a time? I know I'm like, we're wrapping up and I'm like doing another can of worms, but it's so interesting that even as George Floyd has been such like a headlining story, and the critical race theory and all these things of, you know, like civil rights and equality and making sure that people that are being, what's the word, disproportionately like treated, that we should take care of that, and then but we don't breed that further into the human trafficking spectrum, even though it's been brought up, even like the people hear the reports about Maxwell or Epstein occasionally, like we're still not willing to tackle that elephant in the room, like you said, even though we should think of people.
Talk about the oppressed, right?
These lives matter. But
yeah, no kidding. No, all lives matter, Kimiko. And yet, and isn't it interesting how that was demonized so quickly? All lives matter. So quickly it was demonized to to the point where it's racist to say all lives matter. Maybe that's part of the reason why.
It's such a cognitive dissonance. That's like such a perfect spell.
Wow.
Because what kind of world are you in if you don't? And we've seen what's that, Cloud Atlas with Tom Hanks of all people?
Yes.
Where like in the future, you know, it's like all Soylent Green, where they're eating people and stuff like that. That they need us in this kind of like framework and mindset that some people deserve to be of society and some don't, but some are like subpar, and we don't even realize that, like, but all this thing, you were going to put, you know, Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill instead of Andrew Jackson to like show all this stuff about human rights, but then at the same time, you better take them off of Twitter because heaven forbid they speak their mind. They deserve to be
let me tell
canceled
you-
and never heard from again.
I gotta tell you something that might blow your mind a little bit. Okay, so
Okay,
Cloud
okay.
Atlas. Cloud
Right.
Atlas was directed by Jana Wachowski, who
Okay.
is a transgender woman who used
Whoa.
to be a Wachowski brother, the Wachowski brothers who directed The Matrix.
One of the Wachowski brothers,
They're both trans. Yes, they're both women now.
both of them?
Yes,
I did not know that.
yes. I told you I was gonna blow your mind. Yeah, man.
You guys,
Yeah,
come
she
on.
directed Cloud Atlas. Yeah.
And
So
the other
talk
thing
about. I'm telling you guys, it's all connected. They're all connected.
and the little girl who played Tom Hanks' daughter in Cloud Atlas died mysteriously last year during all the
That's
COVID.
right. You're not wrong about that because Tom
Right, as
Hanks
Tom
actually
Hanks
did an
was in
entire
this.
post about her.
Yeah.
Kamiko, oh my goodness.
And
You
also
just gave me the chills, bro.
they keep bringing up Naya Rivera too, and so I have thoughts about that.
I haven't heard her recently, except for her birthday. Was it a couple of months ago?
I keep hearing about her for every couple of weeks. Somebody's talking about her, like all the Glee stars. Every couple of weeks, they're talking about her. There was a thing about her on Mother's Day just a couple days ago. Amber Riley, the other person on Glee, was talking about her, and it's interesting because she was one of the people that was left out of the memorial from what was it, the Oscars
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And she got the Natalie Woods treatment where she died off a boat, which is one of
Yeah.
their. Which is aside from suiciding yourself in a jail cell, that's the other.
Yeah,
fun way to
exactly.
say-
That's the other Hollywood one. Yeah.
Or in an elevator, like a la Prince. But and that they had that whole thing with the Mark guy who got caught with child pornography and ended up killing himself, hanging himself.
Which one?
afterwards.
Which one was that?
It was the like I forget his name, but it was one of the Glee guys, and he was like the tough one.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
But then-
You're right.
but-
And yeah, he hung himself.
And he ended up
Yeah.
hanging himself after
Yeah,
he
he
got
hung himself. Right.
caught for
Yeah, I
child,
remember
you
that.
know, so who knows if he was going to make some type of plea too.
Yikes.
But, you know,
Yikes.
but yeah, like, so like, as you were saying, like trying to pick and choose, like, does that mean that do I have to hate everything? Like we love Disney, but you know, there's stuff
Yeah.
there.
Right.
It's tough to watch sometimes. But then also sometimes it can be enlightening because that is where their confessionals are. You can tell where the world is going by watching the media. But then also it's kind of like Tomorrowland where it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that like we're seeing these projections through our media. It's like implanting into our pineal glands and our mind and visions and stuff like that. And then we're playing it out because that's what we've been scripted to do. We anticipate it. But I remember like seeing a post once where they said in China that they don't watch the news as much because they're aware that it's just a tool for propaganda, and they put it in that like
Right.
that
Yeah.
little box and it's put it in its place. And that in America, like we get so like emotionally like tethered and like infuriated by the news, and like it really has a dictatorship over where we point our attention to. So I think if we could, not just with the news, but also with music and media and everything, realize like its purpose is to introduce me to satanic practices.
Mhm.
Like that's what it's doing. Like, yeah, entertainment, but
yeah.
you know, and so like if we can start to just unravel from them and this like Hollywood stars presence, like isn't that the thing about the Morning Star is that it was trying to compete with the sun, you know? So even the idea that we have all these like false idols of celebrity and all these stories to follow outside of our own life's tale. Like I do it too. I watch, not that I never watch TV, but
Right.
it's never lost on me that I'm sitting still watching somebody else do their life.
Right.
When it's like, I should be cooking right now. I should go on a bike ride. Whatever, like, whatever they're doing, you know. I should disarm that bomb.
An idiot. Oh man. What are you watching? My God. That's a hell of a movie.
All in one.
You're so funny.
but you know, the more we can like take back to the olden days and you know, like sit around a parlor of the living room and like and Gramps plays the piano and you know You get to like hear more, you have like more generational connection between children, you know, where like a lot of people, especially in California, you know, they move out here all by themselves, like they're more or less estranged from their parents and family. And so it makes them even more like, what's the word?
Susceptible.
Susceptible. Yeah, thank you. Susceptible to being targeted and stuff. And then it becomes the cycle too, where if you have a parent who's abusive, like that's another aspect of it, is that some desperate parents are actually selling out their kids. That's not just that they're getting snatched up. It's not that they're running away. It's that their parents are either already abusing them or, you know, having people come over to abuse them to make an industry out of that. So,
that also ties into the immigration because people are being paid to bring those kids over as well.
right.
It's a $4 million a day industry, if not more. Maybe I'm wrong. It's probably a lot more than that. 41 million. I think I forgot what it was in a past cast. My numbers are all jumbled today. I think it's actually like 41 million. I think something ridiculous a day that these guys get paid. Yeah, and there's an incentive. There's an incentive across the border as well. I don't know who's to say that these parents aren't given $5,000 for their kids, and $5,000 is a lot.
Right.
You know, when you have nothing, that's a lot. It's I don't know. It almost I would like to associate those types of things to what's happening here on a smaller scale, given the free freaking donuts and the free lap dances and everything that they want to give you in order to trade in for the vaccine. You know what I mean? It's the same system on a smaller scale. It's just disgusting. It's gross. Desperate people do desperate things. And they had us scared for an entire year. Yeah, exactly. I definitely would consider this COVID thing the next 9/11, and we were due for one, right? We were due for another 9/11. So this was it. You know, well, once we start calling a spade, and we stop, you know, bickering over a goddamn mask, you know, maybe we can get somewhere. You know, I don't know. I know time is running out. You know, not to scare anybody, but you know, it is. I'm over all of it. I really am. Like at this point, if it's just me and you, girl, we're on our own. We're off the grid. I'm cool.
Right.
Good luck to the rest of you guys. And honestly, that should be all of our attitudes. Good luck to everybody else. I got to do me. And I'm telling you, if you can at least just maybe even have that tiny mindset where you actually just start foraging and start getting things for yourself, you're going to find other people doing the same thing.
Right.
And there's going to be your connection. It's going to be a piece of cake. It's not about like, oh man, how am I going to do this? Oh, but they're Biden supporters. Oh, they're this. Like, who cares? Like, at this point, like, who cares? There's so much more going on. Like once we shut that TV off, once we're able to just shut out and see it the way the Chinese do, as far as it being a propaganda thing, man, we could be going some places. You know, I legit want to do the world smash your phone day. I'm telling you, we could pull it off. That'd be so cool.
Our day will come.
Right? That'd be awesome.
Stay tuned.
You never know, right?
You'll get your mailer in snail mail.
Snail mail, exactly. No, well, the British are coming, so even if we have to go by horse like Paul Revere did, I'm down. I have to learn how to ride a horse first, but I'm in.
Well, just prepare us, people, because, and I think, like you're saying, that the moving forward, just realizing how to take care of us and our own, like, never compromise your child's health just because, like, someone with money or the TV told you to. And the more that you can, like, put the pieces together and see the big picture of how it all plays together, that's not just the masks, it's not just the COVID, it's not just the lockdown, it's not just the human trafficking, it's not just the border, it's not just the cryptocurrency, it's, you know, the more that we can all put it into of how they're all webbing together to present this new world. You know, the Great Awakening is real. There are a lot of people that you're seeing, or like you said, just this past week, from between the Fauci emails and McAfee and all these things, you know, right now their only option or chance they have is to, like, distract and redirect us, you know, and do their problem reaction solution. So if we just don't play that game, then we can live our own life and be safe with it.
Exactly.
I think the biggest thing just to remember is that God loves us and is giving us opportunities each day to come into more alignment with that, and to protect our families and loved ones, and to lead by example. And that even with all of this horrific things going on in the world, that it's just testament to how distance or forgetfulness of God, how dark and dismal that can be. And the more that we can just reconnect to, you know, what's true and pure and loving of the world. A natural, like, true and loving person wouldn't think, I'm going to extort this person, you know, like violently or sexually for like exploit. You know, like when you're in a happy, safe, healthy state, you don't require those things. So part of it even is that there's some type of creatures or like humans that are in such a state that they're that lacking, that they're that like void, that they would need to like siphon off or what's the
I think
parasite
There we go. Okay.
that they have to like be so parasitic in our society. So just cleansing that, like helping to remove that void by, I don't know how to satisfy them outside of themselves, but the more that like we can take away from our own needing to satisfy ourselves outside, like feeling that void in ourselves, the more we can rectify the void in ourselves, I think it helps to offset the whole like field of energy that it disempowers them.
Beautiful. Absolutely. The Great Reset is real, but the Great Awakening is just as real.
Mhm.
You know, so, you know, I always like to end these on such a positive note, because this was kind of a dark subject.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't really go too much into detail as far as like what they actually do with these kids and stuff. But use your imagination. There's really no need to. You know,
Yeah, it's beyond what you could possibly imagine.
I mean, pretty much. I mean,
Sadly.
and if there's pictures, you know, there's mock pictures, supposedly mock pictures of Lady Gaga drinking fake blood, and then like, you know, they started this trend recently of master bakers baking cake that are the shape of legs, human legs and human body shapes, and like, you know, so, and they look realistic. They look like actual human body parts. And so you cut into it, and it's a piece of cake. So it's like, it's just, you know, it's an odd symbol of I'm eating a human. Like,
Right.
okay, well, all right. You know, again, the
Cannibalism
zombie,
is so festive.
right, the zombie trend, you know, from a few years ago with Walking Dead and whatnot, you know, so these things, you know, they're in our head, like, oh, people are eating people. The bath salt situations that happened in Florida
Right.
a couple summers ago. So, you know, it's being thrown at us every here, you know, here and there. Like, people eat people, just so you guys know. Hey, people eat people, just so you guys know. You know, it's kind of thrown at us, and we're just like, oh man, those people are crazy.
Right.
Man, it's a lot more common than we think. Than we know. It's a lot more common than we know. I didn't know this till a few years ago, even myself, you know. So, you know, it's just it's a lot of information to take in. A lot of things you guys can maybe look up on your own if you haven't yet. I'd start with Hollywood if you want, because that's one, it's entertaining as hell. To actually, you know, fly down the rabbit hole that way, because you get to see your favorite people become your least favorite people, and it's somewhat heartbreaking. And at the same time, it's like, for me, it was more motivating than anything to be like, oh my God, this is really happening. You know, it was really more of an eye opener. That Hollywood, that it was, and again, it's an industry I've been dying to get into forever. You know, trying to get my foot in the door here and there, and then you understand. Wow, kind of glad I kind of dodged a bullet there.
Right.
You know, and again, I barely with the skin of my teeth. You know, you know, so it's just, yeah, it's dark, but again, if you can stomach it, I say go for it. Because the more information we can have, maybe the more information we can spread around. Maybe we could start getting, as she said, we could start getting these marches going again, start getting awarenesses out, start getting petitions to counteract laws, especially here in California, where you don't have to register as a sex offender if you have sex with somebody that's 16, I believe, 15 or 16, something like that. So, you know, the laws are changing. This is recent. This is last year that's happening. It's happening.
It was right around August, right before the fires happened in California. I remember all those memes.
Oh,
that
that's
were like,
right. Yeah. So, you know, just you know, as we say every episode, stay vigilant. That's the most important thing we can do, is always be on the outside looking in, but always be looking in, because you blink, you miss something. Which and for me, it's just less of a chance to be prepared. You know what I mean? I got a future to think about. Personally, on a personal level, I got my own future to think about with my family. And I think that's okay. You know, because on top of that, there's still a well-roundedness of empathy when you think, you know, you look at the bigger picture, like, oh my God, we do have to save these kids. But the only way we're going to do it is by starting with us first.
Right.
You know, so.
And
You know,
I guess just to real quick, as one side note from that, like you said, how, you know, you blink and you miss something, but at the same time, like you also said, like the 9/11er people, you know, could see this coming a mile away too. So as long as you realize, like the Georgia Guidestones, like there's an end
Right.
game available. Alex Jones, his whole, you know, he has documentaries called End Game. Like the finish line is there. And if you can put things into context, and you want to build awareness, but at the same time, like, do you necessarily need to go down the rabbit hole of looking up every single celebrity on Jeffrey Epstein's
Right,
flight log?
exactly.
Like, is that the best use of your time? Like, do you need to see how many rings have been broken up? Or, you know, when I was following all these like Save the Children pages on Instagram and stuff, a lot of them would post videos of somebody that like was undercover and then like confronted, you know, someone who thought they were going to be meeting with a child. And, you know, as it's good to have that evidence so you can be enlightened and see like, oh, wow, this person was a school teacher, but this person was a cop. It's not always the people that you think it would be
Right.
who are these predators. But at the same time, instead of getting lost in, you know, all the horrors of it and trying to point fingers and stuff like that and see just how bad it is, like we can get straight to like, well, this is how I'm going to take care of me and mine. So none
Right.
of that like can touch us. And
Right.
the more that I can do that example, it'll, you know, ripple effect into my, you know, extended family and neighbors and community, and then they'll do the same. And the more that we can just cast this net of protection over the children, eventually it'll reach around the whole world. But
Exactly.
we don't have to know the name of every devil in the
Very
world.
true.
I don't think.
Yeah, you're right about that. Absolutely. Absolutely 100.
And thank you so much for joining us on this cast. It's one of our darker ones, but kind of an underlying topic in all of them too.
I'm not gonna lie, kind of had fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, that was a good one. Good stuff. All right, my dear. Well, that was good. And thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen. It was a little long-winded. We did do a little bit of sidetracking, but come on, we do it all the time anyway.
Yeah. That's
So
fine.
thank you guys again for joining us. Do what you got to do. Like, share, subscribe. Yeah. Find us. What are we? Off the mark /
Off the
what's the
Mark-
Patreon? I'm sorry. Please do the Patreon.
Oh, patreon.com/offthemarkcast.
Oh, that's what it is. I haven't done that in a while. So yeah. I've been your host, Miss 2DO, Miss Meeks Kelly. Thank you for all your hard work. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you,
stay
Dad.
vigilant, stay focused. We love you guys. Peace.
That's right. You see this man, Jeffrey Epstein, is funding lots of people. He's funding lots of people on the street to make sure his shit doesn't get out. That's right. They want the record sealed. And they're paying a lot of people. Epstein's paying a lot of people. Oh boy. For one, he's got a whole Mossad media matrix in America. And I would bet you anything that Alex Jones is one of them. Prove me wrong.